Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and I'm just going to have some coffee, and then I think I'm going to talk about some of the things that I carry around with me when I go to classes or I have sitting on my sewing table, very handy to me, because these are products that I use a lot. And for everything I'm going to talk about today, I do have a link for them in the show notes below if you're interested in going to those links. Some of those links are Amazon affiliates, which means that I get a bit of a commission if you buy it from Amazon using my link. To date, no one's bought anything from my link, so I'm not really sure how much money I can make from it. I don't expect that it's going to be very much, if anything at all. But I put the links there anyway, so you can check these products out for yourself. Okay, let me have a sip of coffee. And let's switch the camera over. Okay, so I've got a pile of things here on my desk. So I'm going to start with my seam ripper, this thing. Let's move these things over to the side for a second and talk about this. Now, this is the Dritz Seam Fix Ripper. And as I said, the link for this is in the show notes below. And it has a cap, a protective cap, and it's a very sharp blade, as you can see right here. And it works very well. It's good to handle and hold in your hand. It's got a nice substantial barrel to it. Some seam rippers are very thin, and I find them hard to grip. You may find them hard to grip too if you have any kind of hand issues like arthritis or that kind of thing. So this one fits very nicely into your hand. And this part is meant for pulling out the remnants of the stitches. So you go ahead and rip your stitches along the way, but you know you're going to have these little pieces sticking up. So you just rub these across the material. It's kind of like an eraser. It's rubber ended. And it pulls out all those little loose strands. So this is something I always have with me. Why? Because I make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I'm an idiot quilter, so I make a lot of mistakes. So this is one of my most favorite tools. I shouldn't say favorite because I don't really like ripping things out, but I do. So yeah, so this is the Clover, or not the Clover, sorry, the Dritz Seam Fix Ripper. Okay, what's next on my list? Well, I never had one of these for the longest time when I first started sewing because I thought, what do you do with it? Some people call it an awl. Some people call it a stiletto. I prefer the word stiletto. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but what it is a really handy tool, especially when you're trying to get fabric poked under your foot or need to adjust a seam so it's lying the right way just before you sew over top of it. This is really great. It comes to a very sharp point, and that point is sharp. How do I know? Because I've stabbed myself a few times with this. But it's well made, it fits comfortably in the hand, and basically once you start using an awl, you'll never look back. Now there are many of these on the market. There's one called the Purple Thing, which is plastic. I have never really used it. Once I got this one, I really loved it, and I use this a lot. So again, it's called the Clover Tapered Tailors Awl, and the link is below. My next product I really like are called Wonder Clips. Now, if you're a pinner, you're going to love these. These Wonder Clips come in various sizes, and there's various manufacturers of these as well, but these are the ones by Clover. They're well made. They are a little on the pricey side. So I would say if you're going to invest in these, don't invest in a 10-pack. You get more bang for your buck if you buy like a 50 or 100 piece. Yes, the initial layout for these is a bit on the expensive side, but it's well worth it. I use these for everything, and I love them, and the bigger ones as well. And you can get a variety pack with different sizes in it too. But these are, I really feel, are a good substitute for pins. You don't stab yourself with them, and they really do grip just as well, in some cases a little better than using a pin. So these are the Clover Wonder Clips. Links below. Okay, that takes us to this little device. Now, this one you cannot get on Amazon yet, but it's created or was invented by Rob Appel of Man Sewing. It's called the Shark Applicutter, and it is a 14mm rotary cutter. You hold it like a pen, and it'll cut right through fabric with a like it's butter, basically. And this is really great if you're into applique, because this really gets around those little corners and things very well. An excellent tool. So although I said you cannot get it on Amazon, comes with a protective cap, you can get it at Mazzari Star Quilt Company. And to my knowledge, I think they're the only ones carrying it. And I've put a link to their site below. One word of caution: if you live in Canada and you're ordering from Mazzari Star Quilt, expect it to take up to 20 or more business days. That's business days to receive your order. Okay. FriXion pens. Now, some people call these FriXion. I think it's just friction, and they've spelt it Frixion. But whatever way you say it, these are heat erasable markers. Now, they were not designed, let's get the name up here. These were not designed really for, just trying to get the glare off, for fabric. They were designed for people who wanted to write, basically, and have their writing disappear. I don't know what the point of that is, but they've been adopted by the sewing world, and you can mark on your fabric and then just take your iron and this will disappear. Now, one word of caution: as with any marking tool, when you're doing sewing, you should check it out on the fabric you're using in a spot that's not to be seen, or on a scrap piece, to see how well it comes out. I have had a problem with this on some fabrics where it's left a ghost mark on the quilt. The other thing that you may find with these is if your quilt, if you do a lot of extensive marking, and some people do this to mark up their quilt for quilting stitches, if your quilt's going to be exposed to extreme cold, the friction markings will reappear. Now, once you heat it up again, they'll disappear. But that is one of the drawbacks of these pens. However, they come in a variety of colors, and I find that having a set of these pretty much work on almost any kind of color fabric I might be using. So I do like these. I use them quite a bit. But as I said, test them first on the fabric you're going to use them on. And their full technical name for looking these up is Pilot 44155 FriXion Colors Erasable Marker Pen Bold Point Assorted Link 12 Pack. All of that's in the show notes below. Okay, my next item is another marker type, and this one's been around for years, and it is a Clover chalk marker. And so in here you have chalk, and there are little rollers when you take the cap off, little rollers on the end here, and they will distribute, I think you can see on my finger, a fine line of chalk. Great on dark fabric, and it just brushes off. So if you're not sure whether or not you should use a FriXion pen and your color is dark, your fabric is dark, I suggest the Clover, what's it called technically? The Clover 4712 pen style Chaco liner in white. I'm not sure if you can get other colors with this. These are refillable. This little cap will come off and you can refill it, and you can buy a refill for these, the Clover brand. I'm just wondering if it would work with the colored chalk you can buy for a colored pouncer. I've never tried that. Might be worth the effort to give it a shot. Okay, next on my list is this strange looking, and I thought this was an old-fashioned device, but it's not. It's fairly modern. It's by Violetcraft, and it's called the Violetcraft VCR014 Violet Seam Roller, black-handled seam roller with a black handle. Okay. Why did they put black handle in there twice? That might just be me. Anyways, if you're doing seams that you need to press and you don't want to keep running back and forth to your ironing station, and you only need to do like basically a finger pressing, this works really well. You just roll it across your seam just like that, and voila, you have a pressed seam. Now, of course, if your seams are really thick, the fabric is very stiff, this might not work as well as an iron, but for quickie little things where you would just do a finger press, this will work effectively. My next item is the RNK Precision Turning Tool. Okay, what this is a metal turning tool for corners. When you're pulling something, you've got it, you've sewn it inside out and you're pulling it around, you've got corners. This will help you poke out your corners without poking through the corners. Now, with any poking tool, you got to be careful about that, of course. But this one has a ball on the end. Focus. There's a ball on the end of this, which helps, so that you don't poke right through the edge of your fabric. And I use this all the time when I'm turning corners or when I'm having to turn something right sides out. This works very effectively, and it's substantial. It's solid. It's steel. Yeah. Now you can get something called a purple thing, but I find there's too much play in the purple thing, especially if your corners are fairly stiff or your fabric is. Metal one, I find, works a little bit more effectively. Okay, so that takes us to this. This I absolutely love. Now, this is a seam ripper as well. It's by Galaxy, and it looks like a little electric razor. And basically, that's what they were at one time. These were meant for, beard trimming, mustache trimming, sideburn trimming, that kind of thing. But they've repurposed it to rip out stitches. So all you do is you get your stitches started with your seam, manual seam ripper, and then just pin one piece of the fabric down to like your cutting mat or whatever, hold up the other edge, and you just run this along. Now the beauty of this is it will not tear your fabric. It will not cut holes in your fabric because the teeth are so close together here that only the thread goes into it. This makes seam ripping almost fun. It works really fast. I've had great luck with it. I use it, well, too many times, but Idiot Quilter again, make a lot of mistakes. So this is a real godsend. And it runs off of, I think, of a couple of AA batteries. Actually one AA battery is all it takes. It's compact. It fits in your kit. If you're traveling to a class or something or a retreat, I can't say too much about this little item. It is worth what they charge for it. It's not a bad price. It's probably a little overpriced for what it is, but nevertheless, it's about 25 bucks Canadian, and I love it. I just absolutely love it. And it's great too for machine embroiderers because you can, if you've made a major mistake and you have to get the stitches out, you can shave them down on the back of your project using this as well. And I have many times, and it works very effectively. And it's listed below as the Galaxy Notions Electric Seam Ripper, battery operated, and the link is below. The last item, I actually got these as a free gift in a swag bag at a retreat that I was at. They don't come in this little plastic box, that I had laying around. But what they are binding clips. Now you might say, well, why do you need binding clips? You can pin your binding, you can use Wonder clips, that kind of thing. And I used to use Wonder clips and they worked fine. But these are stronger than Wonder clips, so they hold your binding very securely. It has this little window here and there's some markings, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So you can put the edge of this up against the edge of your binding and you know exactly where you're going to have 1/4 inch. There's actually a little mark here. So from here to here is 1/4 inch. They work very effectively for hanging on to holding your binding secure as you're sewing it. I love these. I think they come in packages of 10 and they're not that bad for price, but definitely if you're struggling keeping your binding straight as you sew it on, I recommend these binding clips, and they are called the Tailor Seville Magic Clips. And they come in a box of 6 or 10. I'm not sure which. I think the package I got was 10. But well worth the investment. So those are some of my favorite notions that I go to all the time. And I highly recommend all of them. So links are below if you're interested in purchasing any of these. And as you know, I would never recommend anything if I didn't use it myself and love it. because why bother wasting your time on junk? So let me just switch the camera back over here for just a second. There I am. So I hope you enjoyed this quickie review of some of my favorite notions, and stay tuned for future videos from the Idiot Quilter. I hope you have a nice day. Bye for now.